Hello and welcome to watchandlearnphotoshop.com. In today's tip, I'm going to show you how to create a really cool reflection effect in Photoshop. Now we have a picture here of one of our products for learnflash.com, and what we're going to do, we're going to put a black background on this picture, so let's create a new layer for that. We'll drag this new layer to the bottom, and I'm going to fill that with black. With black selected as the foreground color, I'm going to hold on to Alt and Backspace to fill that with the foreground color. There we go. Now let's nudge this up a little bit. Wrong layer. Let's go to our layer 1 here. We'll nudge this up a little bit on the stage. And now we want to create a reflection of this. Now reflection is going to be the opposite, so we're going to have to flip it over. So first let's create a new copy of this layer 1. So we're going to drag this layer 1 down to the new layer icon to make a copy of that layer. And then we'll take this layer 1 and we'll drag it downwards. And we need to flip it over. So with this layer 1 selected, this layer on the bottom, we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Vertical. We're going to flip it over vertically, and then we're going to drag this down. Now we almost have a reflection here, but the problem is you'll notice that the edges are not meeting up. So we need to take different sections of this and kind of skew this so that it matches up a little better. So let's line up the bottom corner so that it touches the bottom corner here. That looks good. Now we're going to take one section of this at a time and skew it. So we're going to use the free transform tool here, and I'm going to highlight the left part of our image here. Now some of this picture goes down off the bottom of the stage, but you'll notice our selection stops here right at the bottom. And we want our selection to extend down further, so the way we can do that is once we've made our selection, we can go to Select, Transform Selection, and then we can drag this bar down. And it doesn't have to go all the way down to the top of this upside down box. We just need it to go far enough down so that when we skew this up, it'll look alright. So once we have that selection transformed, we'll just hit Enter. So now we have our selection, and you'll notice there's no longer a bottom line here because that selection goes down past the edge of our stage. And then we're going to transform what's inside this selection. Now we might need to zoom in a little bit because it looks like our selection is not coming all the way over, and it's not. So let's nudge that to the right 1 pixel. There we go. And let's zoom back out. I'm holding on to Alt and spacebar to zoom out. To zoom in, it's Alt and Control. Okay, now that we have that selected, I'm going to hit Control T on my keyboard, which is the transform tool. And now that we have that selected, notice that if we hold on to the Control key and then drag this left side, this left bounding box up, we're able to skew that picture. So we're going to drag that up until it meets the bottom of our picture there. And there we go. Now we can hit Enter to apply that transform and Control D to deselect. There we go. Now we're going to do the same thing to the right side of our picture here. So with our marquee tool, we're going to select the right side. Once that's selected, again, we want to extend this border down some, so we're going to go to Select, Transform Selection, and we're going to extend this down and hit Enter. There we go. So our new selection goes down past the bottom of our stage, and then once again we'll hit Control T to transform. Now again, I'm going to hold onto the Control key, and then clicking inside this box over here on the right, I'm going to click that and drag up while holding onto Control. We'll drag that up until that side is skewed to match up with our picture. There we go, and then hit Enter and Control D to deselect. So now we have a little reflection here, but it doesn't look much like a reflection just yet. What we want to do is bring down the transparency of this a little bit and also make this reflection fade as it moves away from the box. So the way we're going to make it fade is we're going to jump into quick mask mode. So we'll click on the quick mask mode, edit in quick mask mode, and what we're going to do is we're going to basically make a gradient here. So we're going to choose our gradient tool. Our gradient is going to fade from black to white. So choose black as your foreground color, white as your background color. And then up here in your gradient, make sure that you have foreground to background gradient selected so that it will fade from black to white. And then we're just going to start a little bit above our reflection and drag straight down. You can hold on to shift if you want to make sure you keep it vertical. And there we go, we've created a gradient. Now when we switch back to regular mode, you'll notice we've made a selection. And the selection has been made with our gradient. Now you'll notice we've actually selected the top part of this picture here. What we want is actually the bottom part of this picture here. So I'm going to hit Control, Shift, and I to invert that selection. Now you'll see the selection is down here at the bottom, and it looks like it's just a rectangular selection. But this is actually a gradient selection, and you'll see how that works in just a second. Now that we have this selected, make sure you still have layer 1 selected here. We're just going to hit Delete. And you'll notice that it kind of deletes it in a gradient style. So when we hit Control D to deselect, there's our reflection. Now, in my opinion, that reflection is still a little bit too bright. Plus, you'll notice there's a little bit of a gap at the bottom of our picture here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this layer 1, I'm going to nudge it up 1 pixel. So I'm going to hit V to switch to the selection tool, and then just hit the up arrow once so that it touches the bottom of that box. That looks good. And then we're just going to bring this opacity down a little bit. So with this layer selected, you can just hit any number on your keypad, and it will take it to, for instance, if you hit 7, it'll take the opacity down to 70%. And that actually looks pretty good. And if you want to fine-tune it even more, you can just go to this opacity slider and slide that up and down to wherever you want it. And that is how you make a basic reflection in Photoshop. So thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something from this, and I hope you find some creative ways to use this in your own pictures. So we'll see you in the next tip.